In Greek mythology, Minos wanted a chance to prove he belonged on the throne, so he prayed to Poseidon for proof. Minos told Poseidon that he would sacrifice any beast that the god sent to him. Poseidon then sent a beautiful white bull, but Minos was encapsulated by the bull's beauty and sacrificed a different bull instead. Minos broke his promise towards the god. Poseidon, who was full of wrath towards the betrayal, cursed Minos' wife to fall in love with the white bull. This resulted in their child, the Minotaur. As time went on, the Minotaur grew and began to desire humans. Not in the normal sense, but devouring the flesh kind of sense. So King Minos had Daedalus, who was a skillful craftsman, build a labyrinth to keep the Minotaur trapped. Athens was forced to send 7 men and 7 women every 9 years to satiate the beast, until a hero named Theseus decided to end the Minotaur himself. Before heading into the labyrinth, Ariadne, who was Minos' daughter, fell in love with the hero and provided him with a magic ball of thread. Theseus tied one end of the thread to the entrance of the labyrinth, and unraveled as he went on so that he could find his way back. In the maze, he slew the beast and returned from the maze to live another day. Now, over time, the myth of the labyrinth took kind of its own identity as a forever shifting and changing infinite maze kind of thing. Although the talk of the original labyrinth has died down over time, humanity has kind of created its own idea of a modern labyrinth, with the same infinite feel and its own beasts that lie within it. It's a labyrinth that transcends the digital plane to put fear of existentialism into anyone. It's a labyrinth that's covered in carpet and wallpaper that is all strangely familiar. If you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the Backrooms, where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented, empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you. Given the recent Backrooms movie produced by A24 and directed by Kane Parsons, the concept of the Backrooms has blown up tremendously, more than it did in the early 2020s. I'm not going to cover the movie, as it's still fairly new as of writing the script, so please go check it out, it's great. The Backrooms went from the simple picture and caption in 2019 to an internet web series about found footage of the liminal area, which was also made by Kane Parsons. This series really accelerated the interest in liminal spaces, causing a huge uproar of activity in the community. Suddenly, you couldn't go anywhere on the internet without someone mentioning liminal spaces or showing their own custom Backrooms level they made, and needless to say, it takes something unique to expand this fast and this broadly. But why? What about this infinite maze of yellow wallpaper and carpeted floors is so interesting to us and to communities as a whole? Where does all this intrigue come from? Well, when I was a kid, I played Grand Theft Auto Vice City for the PlayStation 2. This was around the late 2000s, so the internet was around, but it was not easily accessible for someone like me in the middle of nowhere Appalachia. So anything I found out about the game came from my own experimentation rather than finding it online. But as most things go when you're young, I just had a blast playing around and not really having an objective in mind. Doing the missions wasn't really a priority for me then, I just liked messing around with the game's physics. I discovered something really odd one day that became a legitimate part of my interest today. I couldn't exactly recreate what I did, but the gist is that I was messing around in the mall in the game and somehow ended up outside of the main playable area. On one side, I could see the inside of the mall and all of the normal area, and on the other side I could see nothing. It was an endless stretch of void that only consisted of a couple random NPCs and the occasional car. As a confused child, I was really scared. But beneath that fear was this weird intrigue that would drive me to go on into the void that lied ahead. Diving into that void felt really special. Like I was the only person to experience this brand new world I just found. It was either by luck or some type of intervention outside my understanding. It made me feel like a pioneer who is discovering a new plane not understood by man. And I think the Backrooms are the perfect personification of the unknown and the feeling of being humanity's lucky first to experience said unknown. And I think the Labyrinth shares tons of similarities with the Backrooms, of course, but I think the Labyrinth being like the place that is the off-limits for most people place drives it to have some intrigue about the unknown of what's going on in there. Despite the Backrooms not explicitly choosing people to fall into it, you'd have to be pretty lucky or unlucky to get in there. There is also the concept of getting out of the Backrooms and surviving to tell the story. And then you could throw in the idea of the Backrooms maybe being a real place in our existing world, and now everybody is enticed. I also think the reason why the Backrooms are so fascinating for me is I think it represents a middle ground in life. You're not entirely dead, while you're definitely not living normal Earth life. Just like the Vice City story earlier, I wasn't playing the game as intended, but I also was not in the background looking at developer code. I was in this weird middle ground of both. The Backrooms are just the middle ground of our own existence, not life nor death, almost like it's its own maze of purgatory, just like the Labyrinth. Anyways, I've talked long enough for my liking. I just felt really inspired by watching the Backrooms movie, and I love the concept of the Backrooms, so I just wanted to make a little video on what my thoughts on it were. Anyways, avoid those no clips into said Backrooms and enjoy our life on Earth, because who knows what lies beyond out there. Alright, bye bye.